What's up, YouTube? I did a hello everybody. I'll do a proper intro in a sec. I did a Reef Dork extra video today, review of a return pump, and I found myself I wanted to hide my dodgy hand, so I found myself I was only waving the right hand around. I was like, oh hello everybody, and it looks really weird. Anyway, hello everybody, hello double-handed wave with my dodgy hand. I am Alex, aka Reef Dork, and with me as always is Ryan from the UK's #1 coral selling website, prestigereef.co.uk. Ryan, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Tell everyone about your arm. We know you want to.
We'll leave it a couple of minutes because there'll be another 100 people watching in 5 minutes. So we'll leave it a sec. But this isn't. I don't want to drag on talking about my what happened to my hand. I know, yeah.
I like how someone's written Ryan and Alex had an arm wrestle, and my superior biceps destroyed your arm.
Wow. Show us your biceps. Show us
no.
You broke my arm, Ryan. No. And I'll admit that was the case.
No.
But yeah, so we'll come on to that. We've got there's no proper headline topic. I've had a few things going on this week. This happened on Monday night, so I've had a few things to sort out. So we'll come on to the other stuff, but there's less. There's no headline topic as such. Normally we'll talk about like what happened to Erin's aquarium or is reef keeping fun, which was the topic for not Tidal Gardens. What's it called? Reef Builders. Reef Therapy podcast. Yeah. So there's no headline topic as such, but there's some news for the week, and there's a couple of other bits as well. Have you done a coral of the week and a fish of the week?
Of course.
I don't want it now.
I picked a coral a week literally, during the 30 seconds as this started. And this morning I asked Marina to pick a fish of a week because I care so much about that category.
Textbook.
Yes.
I did see there was a suggestion on the Prestige Reef Dork Show Facebook page, which was a blobfish. You know what a blobfish is?
I do know what blobfish is. They're those little pink things that look like a face.
They're really ugly, like the ugliest thing in the world.
It's not really a reef fish, though, is it? I don't think. It's more of a... No, it's definitely not. It's like a deep water fish.
It's the most disgusting. Exactly. It's like, look at it. No offense, mate, but...
There's actually a pretty surprising resemblance to you, if I'm honest.
So yeah, there was a suggestion, but that's not going to be the fish of the week. All right, well let's get into it then. I'll tell you what happened to my little hand. This is a temporary brace, by the way. You can probably see it's a bit swollen, and it's a funny color as well. So yeah, so
is it that color because of what happened, or is that color because it's so tight you've got no blood flow?
No, this isn't that. This is tight, but it's not that tight. I don't think that's bruising, but I've broken my hand basically. And it was first thing I do want to say is the accident that caused this was quite traumatic and quite traumatizing. So I don't expect sympathy. You don't have to be sympathetic. I expect most people will be, but if you've got something nasty to say, do me a favor and just unsubscribe, thumbs down, and then chunter to someone else about it, because it's not very nice.
Oh God, I'm gonna have to go now, aren't I?
I know. No, you can take the piss at me. I don't mind that, but just
no, I actually wouldn't. I know what happened, so I wouldn't.
Don't be nasty. So I was involved in a motorcycle accident on Monday night. I went into the back of someone basically. I wasn't riding carelessly. I went to get some screws from B&Q, so I was just on my way back, just running an errand. But I saw the car late. I looked up suddenly and I was like, oh shit, there's a car there. Slammed on the brakes, but it was too late. I don't know how I didn't see him earlier. I didn't have my phone up or anything like for sat nav. I was going the direction I knew. I just didn't see him until it was too late. So I hit the back of him, flipped over, came off the bike, flipped over the top, landed on his roof, nice dent in his roof. Sorry, mate. And then sort of tumbled down his bonnet fairly gently and landed on the tarmac. I didn't hurt my head, my neck, my back or anything. So all my limbs are all fine. All the main things that you might hurt when you're in a bad bike accident were all actually pretty much fine. So I came off quite lightly and I did get away with it really. I had bruising on kind of my upper thighs where that hit the fuel tank, and my knee hit the handlebars as well on the way up. But the worst thing was because the bike smashed into the car, it pushed my handlebars back, which broke my left hand in 3 places. And didn't, fortunately, my right hand is okay, but my right thumb is healed now, but it was quite badly bruised. I've had various x-rays. Everything is fine, except with my right hand, they said the scaphoid bone might be broken, but that might show up in a couple of weeks. I think it's fine. My left hand, I've broken 3 bones. I've broken 2 metacarpals, which are these ones across the top, and they're fine.
Yeah.
They've broken the scaphoid, and that's supposedly you don't want to break your scaphoid. That's quite nasty. So that can cause you problems later in life.
Yeah.
So next week I might have to have surgery. They might just put it in a plaster cast, but I might have I think they put a pin in it, like a titanium rod or whatever. So that's what happened. And
how long till it gets better?
I've
never broken anything.
Have you not? Oh, really? Okay.
No, never. A few hearts, but never any bones.
So I broke my right wrist when I was 16 playing football with some lads who came out of the pub.
Yeah.
And that was, I think I was in plaster for a couple of months with that. So I would expect to be next Thursday, I've got an appointment with a fracture clinic, and that's when I'll find out about the hand.
Yeah.
I would expect it to be in plaster for 2 months, and then maybe a month or 2 recovering after that. But I don't really know. I went to A&E, and they just sort of triage you, make sure you're okay. With a motorbike accident, they take it really seriously.
Yeah.
And they was a priority basically. But all they want to do is make sure you're okay, scan what needs to be scanned, and if you're not in a serious condition, they say, great, okay, we'll get you back in when we can. So I'll find out next Thursday what the prognosis is basically. But
does it make? I know I asked you this obviously on the day, and you said you don't know how you feel at the moment. Does it make you reconsider riding a motorbike or not?
No, I absolutely love riding bikes. It's just it's good for your mental health. It really is fantastic. I love it.
Yeah.
But it's going to take me a bit of time to get my confidence back up. That's for sure. It's just so I've been riding for about 8 years, about the same time as being in the hobby, in the saltwater hobby.
Oh, so you're actually a relatively new motor. I always assumed you'd done it since you were quite young.
I got into it relatively late, but I've been in it long enough I've always been quite a confident rider.
Yeah.
But I feel now, anytime I watch a lot of motorbike YouTube channels, and every time I watch a video at the moment, all I can picture is he's going to go around the corner and crash it in the next minute. So
yeah.
So it was going to take a bit of time to build up the confidence, and I'm not in a rush to get back on. It's not like as soon as the cast is off, I'm on it. I'm going to take my time, but I will go back to it. It's just, I think it'll probably change me a little bit. But so there you go.
How did are you getting lots of sympathy at home though? That's the main thing.
Yeah, I don't.
You've been looked after.
I am being looked after, of course.
Good.
But I don't know. It's funny because it's just, I don't know. I feel absolutely fine, and really, it could have been 10 times worse.
Yeah.
The fact that I'm in one piece more or less is very good news indeed. But because I don't know how fast I was going, but it wasn't very fast. And by the time I hit the car, it was probably 20 miles an hour, maybe 30. I've got no idea really.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it was a low car. It was an Audi A6. It was a grey car. I think this is part of the reason I didn't see it. It was a grey car, and it was like 8 o'clock at night, so it was kind of twilight.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it was a low car, so I didn't if it was a big van or something, I would have splattered into the back of it, which probably would have hurt a bit more.
Yeah.
But there you go. It's that's what happened, and I've been out of action for the last week. I don't know how this is going to affect the channel. I did make a video this week for Reef Dork Extra, but I'd already done most of the work on that already. And what I did find was that holding a camera is hard. So my right hand is fine, but I can't really grip very well with this thumb at the moment. It's already got better in the last week, but it's not perfect. And obviously, not having use of my left hand, you can't. There are certain things you can't do. So I might. Thank you. Oh, I got a beer. So I'm gonna have to struggle to hold the beer now. Actually, thinking about it. So I don't know. I'm still going to try to make a video for this Friday for the main channel, but it might mean that I back off a little bit for a few weeks until I feel a bit better. So, which is obviously the least important thing in the world, but still,
yeah, of course,
I still think about it.
The main thing is you're all right. I was concerned when you first messaged me and you just said you're all right, but I just thought it could have been a lot worse. Then who would I sit here with, making fun of all week?
No, exactly, yeah. But yeah, it's exactly. It could have been a lot worse, and I'm pleased that it's just a broken hand and that's it. So there we go. Well, it is affecting reef keeping.
Is it? How's it affecting reef keeping?
So I've not done a water change. I was due to do one on Tuesday because I rolled it over from last weekend,
Yeah.
and that's gone out the window. That's not happened.
Do you need me to come down there and do it for you?
I do
Because
really.
I don't really do water changes, so
Okay.
so I'll be going back to my roots to come help you.
There you go. I'll be helping you out then. And I also struggled to fill up the auto top-off reservoirs, my freshwater reservoirs,
In
because
all
I can't
seriousness,
properly grip a 10-litre barrel.
in all seriousness, and I genuinely mean this. I know you won't accept this, but although you might, if you actually genuinely need help, I will drive down and help you. I'll bring the camera.
Cool. Can you
should
come
have
up tonight and do the water change?
Well, I'm drinking a beer, so
I'll hold the
probably not.
fort. That's fine. Get Marina to drive. I'll hold the fort on the stream. You come up, do the
that's-
water change, and then
That's true. Yeah, you can see me live there, can't you?
exactly. But no, it's thank you, but it'll be fine. So today I've been meaning to set up my main freshwater reservoir on my main tank.
Yeah.
Is a pain in the backside to fill up. It's about 100 liters, and I have to lug barrels back and forward. It's just a pain. And I've been meaning to set up a tube to automatically fill it up, so I don't have to carry barrels. And I've done that now.
Clever.
So exactly. So now I don't have to lift barrels there, but I do still have to lift barrels upstairs. I can carry, like my carrying strength in my right hand is fine. It's just I can't grip. So when it comes
to wasn't that much more. It wasn't that much. It wasn't that good before, though, was it?
I'm not exactly the strongest man in the world, no. But and actually, there's a very important question from Atkins Nature Aquarium. One question on my mind: how did the bike make it out? The bike is not in a good state. It's being collected tomorrow by the insurance company, and it's probably a write-off. It's actually, to be fair, if you saw it, you wouldn't think it doesn't look that horrendous, but it's not. It's the suspension snapped away from the frame, the wheel snapped in half, the radiator's knackered, the exhaust pipe was pushed back. There are lots of cracks and broken things, and it looks pretty smashed up. So it's a shame because it was a lovely bike. And Will Reef Habitat says, from a fellow biker, glad you're okay. Bikes can be fixed, bones can be fixed and mended, but lives can't be replaced. Very lucky escape. Glad luck was on your side. Well, thank you. And we've got some scaphoid bone advice. Scaphoid only bone with blood supply. Ah, interesting. If it doesn't get blood, it can die. Oh, God. I'm a DHMT biker. Don't know what that means. Medical something. And loads of mates broken, but never lost blood supply. Wicked. Well, that's really good to know. Thank you. Because that's when a doctor, like in the accident and emergency on Monday night, the doctor starts saying things like, "Oh," and they see like 100 people like me every day. So to them, it's like, "Oh, let's have it. Okay, yeah, you've broken scaphoid. Oh, you might need surgery on that. You might struggle with it later in life. Don't worry, that's fine." And you're like, sorry, it sounded like you said I might struggle later in life.
Yeah.
And so
you get an ambulance?
No. So the guy, I need to do a shout out to the guy. He won't watch this course. He doesn't know. I didn't tell him about the YouTube channel, surprisingly. But the guy who I crashed into was just the nicest guy in the world. It was the guy and his uncle, Romanian guys, and the younger lad, who was, I don't know, like late 20s, early 30s, was quite a big lad. He's quite strong, and he helped get my bike back home. Both wheels were locked, but he had a mate who came with a low loader, and he pushed the bike, slid the bike onto it, came back with me, followed me back. My missus came and picked me up, and helped me unload it at the other end. Phoned me 2 days later to make sure I was okay. Like, he wasn't. All I was saying is, I'm so sorry, because his car's not that bad, but it's dented in the back. I dented the roof. And I was like, I'm so sorry, you know. And he was like, mate, I don't care.
There's a Reef Dork shaped body in the roof. That car's probably worth a lot of money now. You're famous, aren't you?
I should tell him. Yeah.
You should tell him. He'll go sell it for a lot of money.
But there we go. But so it was just so nice. I just couldn't get over it. And like, if in that situation, the person on the receiving end of the crash, and there's no two ways about it. It wasn't his fault. He was doing nothing wrong. There's every chance they could be pretty pissed off with you, and I'd like to think most people wouldn't be, but he was just
I know what you mean.
Nice.
It's funny because I remember. So I was driving. This was when I was 18. I drove my dad's car in the evening once, and I came back, and it was the first time I'd ever had a dented a car. I hit the gate of our house as I was driving in, and I just thought, oh God, when he wakes up in the morning, and he literally woke up and he went, "We all do it. I've done it. Like, don't worry about it." And and that taught me something, that going forward, if ever that I'm in this situation, either whether my kids do that or if someone hits me, which someone did hit me once, I just got out and went, I won't worry about it. It's only a car.
Completely. Yeah. That so I would have the exact same attitude.
Yeah.
And it's just I don't know, you just kind of worry at the time. Like you don't process it. I just had a nasty accident.
Yeah.
And all I'm doing is like, oh God, I'm so sorry. Look, how are you going to get home okay? And it's like, mate, do you want to just go to the hospital? Get your
that's what.
But just but anyway, so I won't spend hours talking about that because I just wanted to tell people what's happening. But yeah, so that's that. And I have found it's affected my reef keeping, of course. But I found a few tools that work really well. The main one is my wife.
Okay.
And she's voice activated.
Will she appreciate being referred to as a tool?
Well, I don't know, but she's very good at it. She's voice activated as well. So you can be like,
okay,
wife, feed the fish. And like this little arm pops up and puts a bit of food in the tank. It's wicked. So
your arm will be fine. You'll be the longest healing. So in 6 months' time, you'll still be in a cast and you'll be going, oh, can you just go feed the fish for me?
I'll have to pay a private hospital to keep it on or something.
Yeah,
I need to put a new one on something. But yeah, so actually, I do wonder about water changes and that sort of thing because they're going to be a little bit difficult. But my right hand is almost fixed already, I think. So in a week or so's time, I plan on cracking on with water changes again because I don't want to leave like a week or two without changes. Doesn't matter, but don't want to leave it too long.
Well, I genuinely mean it. As I said, if you need it, I'll come down and help. I actually genuinely 100% mean it. So as I said, I'll bring the camera down and you can help me with the camera. I help you the water change. We're all happy then.
That's the point. Yes, you just need to work out how to use the camera, don't you? That's where
it don't matter. It works both ways. It makes me look good on the live stream.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll come help you with an ulterior motive.
Well,
what I'm saying is at some point I'm going to come down anyway. So if you want me to come down and help you, I'll come down and help you.
Okay, cheers. I probably won't take you up on that, but thank you. And what's Reef Canvas says, try to buy the bike back from the insurance company and fix it. They might do that at a very low price. There are so many things that are broken on it that I don't think I'd want to ride it again, even if I could fix it. Like I'd be worried, is the frame cracked or is it dangerous? And so it's a shame because I absolutely love it and I would have kept it. But I think now I've crashed it. I just don't want it again. Even like my helmet, I don't think I hit my head at all.
Yeah.
But I'm throwing the helmet away. There's no way I'm using it again. Like but yeah. Anyway. Oh, and Stuart Webb says, congrats on 60k subs. Where is it? There it is.
There you go. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah, hit the mark this week. The second British saltwater aquarium YouTuber ever to hit that mark.
Ever? That means because Aaron's aquarium still got it, hasn't he?
Yeah, annoyingly, people haven't unsubscribed from yet. So he's still
annoyingly.
Yeah, I need people to like about 15,000 people to unsubscribe.
He probably got a load of subscribers after
Maybe,
the
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, what a great friend in Ryan. Yeah, I don't like. As I said, there was an ulterior motive, so
yes, he's just trying to look good for the camera. That's the thing. Like, you should have heard what he was saying before we started. God.
Yeah, terrible things.
But joking aside, that's just what you're like. You're just a nice person with that sort of thing, and friends mean something to you. So I appreciate it.
Look, I like to look. I expect to be looked after the same way that I would look after people, if you see what I mean. And you always look after me with the corals or all sorts of things, and I would do the same. So, and I genuinely believe if it was the other way around that you'd come out because you just need to turn a few valves, so it's easy.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, Marina's probably going to be okay with it, isn't she? And,
that's true. Yeah, she's tough.
I've got to watch Love Island up here, so
she'll put it on for you here.
But
she'll be loving this because when you mentioned her name once, and she's like, "Oh, a famous person mentioned my name," and I'm like, "A famous person? You live with me." So, just to clarify, neither of us are famous. That was a joke.
No, yeah. I kind of cringe even at the joke now.
Yeah.
But all right. So okay. So there we go. So that's what happened to my hand. I'll be out of action for a little while, but fine. Let's move on to fish stuff, which is ultimately why we're all here, right? So first off, we're going to go to member questions from YouTube. I'm just going to refresh the page to see if there's any last minute questions that have popped up. So first question is from Tom. who says, I know we've done quarantine tanks to death, but a second question, if allowed, you are allowed. What's the bare minimum one would need to have equipment wise? And what are the treatments which can be done in the main tank? And does that require a separate tank? So, I mean, Prestige and I are not the best people to ask about quarantine because we don't practice it. We don't encourage it. So Humble Fish and Reef is probably the best place to go for that.
Definitely 100%.
But if you're treating in tank, obviously that's not quarantine. That's completely separate. Which treatments can be done in the main tank? There's one. What's it called? What's it called? There's one that you can do in Lab Medic.
Yeah.
That lots of people say that people, scientific people say who know their stuff say you're basically wasting your time because I think it only gets the white spot parasite when it's in its free swimming stage, and you've got to be very lucky to catch that at the right time. So, but some people have put it in and it's worked. So who knows? But
Bulk Reef Supplies also did a very, very in-depth thing, didn't like a video series on quarantining and what to do and things like that. So that will tell you more than because obviously those will be probably combined probably an hour and a half worth of videos, more than we can tell you in a few minutes.
Exactly. But in terms of equipment, actually, this is one thing that because people often assume that if you're going to set up a quarantine tank, it's a load more equipment and it's a load more expense. It takes up space, and I think that's enough to put a lot of people off.
Yeah.
But the equipment doesn't have to be fancy. The best in inverted commas quarantine tank I had set up was just it was a freshwater tank. I think it was about 80 liters. It was a funny shape, or maybe it was a bit more than 100 liters, but it was a funny shape. It was tall rather than long, and really you want long and thin. But anyway, it was just a 100 liters of water roughly. I had a heater in it. I had a power head for surface water movement, but you could put an air stone or whatever, and that was it. And then a few bits of plastic for the fish to hide in to make them feel a bit more comfortable. That's all you need. You don't need a lot. And in fact, if you put things in like sand and rock, that can absorb the medication or the cup or whatever and make it harder to know how much you should be putting in. So you're supposed to have them fairly bare, like a couple of pipes you need to have somewhere for the fish to hide. But it's just literally plumbing pipes, so.
Does it make you concerned? I don't know if there's something about generally speaking, quarantine tanks are like uncycled tanks usually, I would say.
Yeah.
Does it make you concerned putting a fish in an uncycled tank?
Well, there are ways around that. So it shouldn't be uncycled. So some people keep mollies in there 100% of the time.
Yeah.
And then, so obviously, because you'll go 6 months without buying a fish.
Yeah.
So you need to keep it cycled. So you put the molly in, you keep it in there, that keeps it cycled. You keep feeding it. And then I think the theory is, and I don't quote me on this, look it up because this is from memory when I researched quarantine like 7-8 years ago. But they then take the molly out of their quarantine system, put it in their sump, put the new fish in, quarantine the fish, and then put the molly back in the quarantine. I've never liked that because if there's some kind of residual disease, aren't you risking putting it in your tank? I don't know if freshwater fish even can play host to the same parasites. I don't know. I just don't like the sound of it. But that's what I've seen plenty of people do that. The other way is to keep a piece of filter sponge in your tank all the time or something like that, and then transfer that over so it's got all the bacteria. But that was I think that was one of the issues I had, was that when I did it, it was like suddenly I did the whole filter sponge thing and carry it over. Yeah. But I had fish die in quarantine, lots of fish die in quarantine. And I always thought, have I just not left the filter sponge in my tank long enough? Or
I know what you mean. Can I go? It will take me literally 30 seconds to deal with something. That's why I was looking away. Literally. Okay.
So in terms of the quarantine stuff, Tom, ask other people. We're not the best, but it can be really simple, bare minimum, basic tanks. Just a tank, any tank, a glass bowl. You do it in a plastic tub, an HDPE plastic storage tub from Homebase, a heater, and some places for the fish to hide. That's really important. So because it's an unnatural environment and it'll stress them out if they haven't got somewhere to hide and get out of the way. I always feel like quarantine tanks are stressful environments anyway. Maybe they're fine. They're stressful for a week and then they're fine after that. I don't know, but I just don't like them.
Yeah. I know what you mean, but then again, some people would crucify us for saying this, especially me, obviously after what happened. So
yeah, it's true.
I will probably will go down some sort of quarantine route.
Oh, really?
Not there are various stages of quarantine. You can go like the whole hog, but I think the main thing for me is I don't want something that wipes things out in a couple of days. So if even if the fish is in quarantine, even if it's just for a week, it's going to eliminate that thing where it just destroys things.
For a bit,
yeah. But I haven't put a lot of thought into what I'm going to do yet. I freshwater dip the fish actually quite frequently. I don't have a problem with that at all.
The first time you do that,
yes,
I haven't got the stomach for it. The fish, it's like the fish is dead. It goes on its side, goes completely still. Yeah. I'm sure it's not that stressful for the fish, but bloody hell, it's stressful for me.
well, the king I had, I think I had so angelfish are known for getting flukes. So I dip the angelfish before they go in, and because flukes come off straight away pretty much if it's on the outside, and when I did the mixture for the king eye, which obviously just RO water and the temperature and making sure the pH is correct, I thought to myself, I'm not putting this in there. I'm not putting the king eye in there straight away. No. So I thought, what's the easiest fish to catch? So I caught a copper band, which was in the same tank as it, and put the copper band into the freshwater dip first, because there's nothing wrong with it. It's like, in theory, it should keep so I did both of them. I thought as long as the copper band survives, I'll put the king eye in, and then because obviously there's a big difference in cost.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to just put the king eye in case I got something wrong. But what was there to go wrong, really? It's just fresh water and you adjust the pH.
I think as long as that was one thing that put me off, was the talk of pH, and the pH must be 8.3 or whatever it is. And I tried to getting that right. I found really difficult. When I was doing this was when I was first starting the hobby, probably in the first 6 months, maybe the first year. So I didn't really have the understanding. But I found it difficult to, how am I going to get that? The am I going to use pH buffers? Do I need to?
Yeah, you can use pH buffers.
But how do you then test for it? Because I didn't have a pH tester.
I used the pH probe from
this is it.
I used the probe from the Profilux that was in the coral farm, and then took that out and put it into the freshwater to see if the number was the same.
Yeah, okay.
Because as long as they were the same, it didn't matter to me what the pH was.
This is true. But all of that just put me off. But that's why we're not the best people to ask. You know, I'm not saying don't do it. Yeah. I don't do it, and I don't encourage it. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't. That just means you should listen to me, listen to what I say. And if you think I'm talking bollocks, that's fine. Go and listen to the people who encourage quarantine, and listen to what they say. And they might speak to you more than I do. The chances are, because what I'm saying is easier, most people will be like, oh yeah, Reef Dork says it, so it's cool. Because that's what you do. You look for positive reinforcement or whatever, don't you? But you should look at both sides of the coin.
There's definitely I know some people that quarantine absolutely everything, and they've never had a single issue. I know some people that quarantine absolutely everything and now have a parasite in their tank because white spot's in there, or some sort of like disease, like white spot related disease is in there. So, and this person, they quarantine everything. So for, I think it's either 6 or 12 weeks they quarantine it for. It's a long time. And they actively medicate during that process. So if it's getting through that system, it's going to get through all of them. But I just think, for me, there are some diseases which are like terrible, and there's some which you go, like the fish can, like healthy fish can manage them. And so I'd want to try to eliminate the really, really bad stuff, because that's the stuff when you put it in there, it's like there's no chance.
Velvet is like the worst thing in the world for fish.
Correct.
It's like in 24 hours everything dies, and it looks like a really uncomfortable way to go. I mean, there's no nice way for fish to die, but it looks horrendous.
No. So
there's a guy in the chat called Freshwater Ichthyology, who I presume is a bit of a freshwater guru.
Yeah.
When it comes to ichthyology, is that diseases? I don't know. But he says most freshwater diseases and marine should be distinct enough not to worry. It's quite a jumping environment and host taxonomy. So you're not likely to get to carry saltwater diseases into your main tank if you put a molly in there, I think is what he's saying. It would still make me paranoid, but there you go. And one thing, someone's noticed your subtle subliminal marketing, Ryan. Shamila Butters, new YouTube member. Welcome. Says, I love Ryan's new mugs.
I'm actually drinking my beer. You can't see it because I can't show you on the camera in my new mug. So this is one of them. There you go. And then I got another design here as well.
You've got
So,
all your mugs next to you. Okay.
yeah, I got one water and one beer. I think there's six designs. Yeah, I was going to make a joke out of it. I was literally going to open a beer and then pour it into the mug, but then I thought, oh, I can't bother, and I'll just subtly drink it in front of you like this.
Yeah. The other thing, actually, did you show your notepad the other week?
Oh yeah, I didn't. No, I don't
I
think
actually quite like that.
You like my notepad, do you? This is just a sample. So obviously it says sample not for resale on it.
Yeah.
But I just thought it's just a notepad.
Yeah.
This is not currently for sale. But I actually printed this for myself.
I think you should put that for sale. Although I bought a notepad ages ago and I started recording all my test results in it. And it's useful because you can just get a pen and you don't have to open up your phone and put it in a spreadsheet and all that rubbish. So it's useful. You can just write down stuff there, and you can really quickly put in notes like added 50 grams of Rowaphos or whatever.
Yes,
or that's really useful. But after about 3 months, stopped using it and decided I wanted a spreadsheet because it's just much easier to read the data.
Well, you might be losing me some sales. Anyway, that's the reason I put my aquarium notes on it, because it's for your aquarium notes. So it's just I actually quite like it, even for myself. So I'm going to print another one that doesn't say not for resale on.
I'm going to ask you how you feel in 6 months, because I loved mine. I bought 2 notepads, one for each tank when I only had 2 tanks only. And after a few months I didn't like it. So I'm going to come back in 6 months and see how
I use notepads for everything. I use it for I use them all the time. I've actually got 2 in front of me now. When I do the consultations, I use notepad because I write down everything people say, so I can then look back at the whole call and go, oh, this might be what the problem is.
Interesting.
And I keep it in case the person then comes back, and then I've got all the notes from the previous consultations. So that's why we use the notepads for. But I just think it's nice to have something that's fish related. It's just a notebook. You can get a notebook from anywhere. But I just thought fish related one, quite nice. Plus, Amazon says I'm now a published author. Because
published author.
Is
there any writing in that book?
I wrote these words in my aquarium notes. That makes me a published author.
What does it say inside?
Nothing. It doesn't matter. I wrote those words. And if you look on Amazon, it says, well, if you can't look on Amazon because it's not on there. It says published by Ryan Marchant. There you go. Published author.
There you go. In the presence of greatness.
Yeah, published author and mug salesman is what I now refer to myself.
That's the best book you've ever read?
It's definitely the only book I've ever read.
There you go. So yes.
So yeah. So highly recommend. 5 stars.
5 stars. Yeah. Who did it?
Who did what?
To the end. You spoil it. Tell us what happens at the end.
Oh, it's I can't. No, I wouldn't want to ruin that for you.
You want us to buy it? How much? Oh, you haven't. You're not actually made.
I said they're not up. They're not up. The mugs are a little bit expensive. I'm trying to find a different supplier so that I can get. And I'm even thinking about buying bulk and having them shipped here so I can sell them. But I'm trying to. Yeah, they are quite expensive for mugs, but you don't have a choice when you're trying to get them printed on an individual basis.
Yeah.
So I know you said you thought about doing something like this before, but that's the problem when you're doing it on a really small scale. They That's it. But then again, like I love these mugs now. I didn't. Every single mug in my house is white. But because these are fish related, when I get them and I put something in there, it's like it reminds me of the joy I get from corals. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm a good mug salesman, aren't I?
You're a mug, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. It puts me off. I do like the idea of doing merch, and every now and then people ask if there's any merch.
Yeah.
But I don't want it to be. I don't want because it's 20 quid a mug. And I know money. It's not like you're making 19 quid on that. You make
not even remotely.
Exactly. So, but I just don't like the idea, and I'd want it to be done properly, really well.
Yeah.
So I've got a mate who's like he's web design marketing. He's really good with design, that sort of thing. And he offered to do some stuff for me a couple of years ago during COVID because he runs a business and he suddenly didn't have any work to do. But I didn't want it. It was too much to ask. Yeah. So I didn't take him up on it, but I'd want to find someone I can trust. But
that's why I got these samples sent to me because for me, quality is important. If they were just really blurry or like, I wouldn't be happy at all, and I definitely wouldn't.
It's your name at the end of the day, isn't it? It's a silly thing, but if someone gets a mug and it looks awful,
I'm my harshest critic.
Yeah,
It's exactly the same as when I sell coral. Like, if I wouldn't be happy receiving the coral, it won't go. It's as simple as that. I'd rather, like, it doesn't happen very often, but sometimes, it happened the other day, actually. I just said to someone, look, I'm happy with the coral, so is there anything else you'd like instead? And he went, oh, yeah, I'll have the other one. And that was that.
Okay.
Because, and I think that shows like a certain level of trust, because he now knows that in future, I'm not going to just ship him the one that's a bit dodgy and go, oh, yeah, it just happened in the post.
I listened back to the podcast last week.
Yeah.
And your microphone was too far away, so the audio was really it was like quite difficult to listen to.
Really?
So I wasn't happy with that. What do I get?
Oh,
another coral.
Yes, you have as many corals as you want.
Excellent, cool. I'll come down and pick it up.
Fortunately, you're very, very specific about what corals you want, so you never really want that many.
We'll finish off the question in a sec. Someone's just asked, is Platygyria, is that how you pronounce it, an SPS?
I thought it was a Platygyra.
Platygyra, sorry, you're quite right. Is it an SPS? I think that's
I think it is.
I thought it was an LPS, but I think it's one of those corals that is like kind of, no, it's a brain coral. It's an LPS. It's one.
Wait, one second.
This is one of those corals that it's.
Oh, that is an LPS, yeah.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, this is it's a hobby classification, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't actually mean anything. It just means some dickhead with a fish tank has gone, yeah, SPS. But that's what it is. That I would consider that to be LPS, right? I think that's not even controversial, right?
That's very LPS.
And nice corals as well, in fact. Really nice. That's not what I thought it was. They're really
no,
nice.
that wasn't me either. For some reason, when you said Platygyra, I was thinking something, and I've literally got.
I thought something encrusting, which this kind of is, but that's not what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what they look. I've seen these in the wild. That color, brown.
I was thinking of Provites. That's what I was thinking. That might be what you were thinking.
Yeah. No, I don't know what I was thinking of, but yeah, they're lovely. They're really nice. Ryan, if you can get one of these in fact,
I had these for ages. You get some really, most of them are green with a purple bit like that, but you do get you get some which are like pink with purple. So the outer ridges are pink and the middle is purple, which are really nice as well.
If you can get this one in on
Which
the right,
one?
the blue, turquoise, yellow, green, and purple.
I've never seen one like that. But
I will give you £5 for a polyp.
5 whole pounds per polyp. There's quite a lot of polyps on there.
£5. Well, yeah, but I only want one, so.
Oh, okay.
You can do buy one get one free if you want. See,
look, you're the tightest person when it comes to buying corals, aren't you?
Genuinely am as well.
You spend loads of money on equipment, but if for some reason you find it hard to buy coral, don't you?
I've got better at that, but you know, the part of the reason for that is that, like in the past, I've been reluctant to buy like expensive corals because I worry they'll die.
Yep.
I've kind of got past that, but at the same time, like I spent 220 quid on something like that on a torch coral from another hobbyist, so not like from a shop, and it died like a week later. This was 6 months ago, a year ago. And like, when I got it, when I looked at it in my tank, I was like, it was receded, and I was like, oh god, it died more or less straight away, and that's what puts me off buying expensive corals. But
I agree.
I'm better at it now, and I just think, you know what, if it dies, it dies. I'll do obviously everything I can do to make sure it doesn't. But I now just think, well, look, that happens. That's part of the hobby. So I'll deal with it. So I'm better at that than I was. But I used to be a nightmare.
It's funny because even now, I don't particularly have expensive taste in coral. I don't get like fancy gold torches in, you know, like those real Aussie gold ones, unless I have someone lined up to buy one. Because I don't want to have that in my tank and risk it dying. Because I have to sell, I don't know, 20 or 30 pieces of Hystrix to pay for the cost of that one coral, if you see what I mean. So for me, it's not worth it.
Torches are funny. We've talked before about how we're not into the whole torch craze. I've since then actually bought a couple. I bought a couple from you about a year ago.
Traitor.
I know what?
Traitor.
Because I bought them from you.
No, because we together didn't like torches, and now you've gone over to the dark side.
I won't give you my money. I'll buy from a different shop in that case. There's somewhere plenty of other places to go. But I bought 2 others recently, and they're doing fine. They're just fine. There's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah.
But they don't look really healthy. And I love it when you look at a coral and all my gunnies are really healthy, which is amazing for me because I've always struggled with them. And the torches, they just look like 7 out of 10. They just look healthy, and it bothers me because when you look at them closely, you're like, ah. So I'm considering. I've got 4 of them. They were probably all quite expensive. like average of 150 quid each. I'm considering selling them all just as a
Yeah.
group for a couple hundred quid to someone,
Yeah.
and just get rid of them and buy some hammers or gonnies or whatever.
So did you say they've changed color? So they're not? Are they all the
No,
same color
actually,
now?
no, these are all looking good. There was one that I bought that was it was at the time, I think it was 150, which was the most, or 200. It was the most I'd ever spent on a coral. It was like a colony of hellfire, I think. Or well, I say colony, like 3 heads.
Yeah.
And it looked fantastic. It was really healthy in the shop. It looked amazing. It had those kind of goldy kind of tips. Like a hellfire torch isn't like a proper gold one, but it's got nice goldy tips.
Yeah.
And within 6 months, maybe less, it had lost all its color and it was kind of greeny brown.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it just, I think it's probably because it was in my SPS tank, so it just got too much light. Maybe I don't actually know what did it. Whatever, it pissed me off because it's a nice coral still. It looks, just because a coral is kind of greeny brown doesn't mean it's not nice.
Yeah.
But it's not what I wouldn't have paid 200 and whatever quid for it had I known it was going to do that, and it was my tank's fault.
Yeah.
But I don't like the uncertainty, and I don't like that I can't. Maybe I'm obviously doing something wrong, but I don't like that I can't make it really healthy. There's nothing more satisfying than when you get a coral and you make it really healthy.
Yeah.
And torches are just, I don't know. So they look stunning, but I'm not sure they're worth the aggravation.
No, not for me either. Most of the torches I have in are just green torches. I think I've got one fancy one, but other than that,
I've got one green torch from Reefkeeping X-S10. It's really nice. It's really bright. And
some of them are really nice.
In fact, I sold to a guy called Graham. I don't think he ever watches, but hi Graham, if you're watching. Years ago, I sold this green torch with pink tips. It was so nice.
Yeah.
And I regret selling it. I think he's probably sold it years ago since then, but I've not seen one as nice as that since then. Just a basic green with just some little pink tips. It was so nice though. But anyway. All right, so that's half an hour on the one question.
Well, that's good because we haven't got a topic today, have we?
And the second, no, we haven't. And the second one is from Bubbly Reef. Hello, Bubbly Reef. I think, by the way, Ryan, was Bubbly Reef the person who suggested the Facebook group?
No idea. I have a terrible memory.
Can't remember. So I think someone said we need a way to send you photos, or someone might have said, "Can you set up a Facebook group?" I can't remember, but I've got a feeling Bubbly Reef said to set up the Facebook group. So thank you very much for that. It's brilliant, and I love it, as you know. We'll come back onto that because there's a super chat I'm going to jump onto. Yeah. Mark Hanford, who is a new member as well. Hello, Mark. Welcome to YouTube membership. He has just bought his first marine tank. Partially to you, mostly Ryan. Right. Get rid of that. I'm not having that. No, not answering your question. No. Mostly Ryan, of course. How many new sets of lights should I buy each month? Whee!
That was like a double blow for you, isn't it?
Oh, that's a burn. That is. Yeah, at least 3 or 4 a month, I think. So. That's because the best part of that gag is he sucked me in with like, it looks like it's a genuine question, and then you get to the end and you're like, oh, he's just given me a kick in the teeth.
Yeah. Well, like no, he kicked you while you were down, because obviously he knocked you down with the first one.
I knock on my hand.
Oh, poor you.
Yeah. How many?
I stayed silent during your sympathy thing. I was like, no, I can't. I gotta be good. Gotta be good.
Burn. All right, I'm going back to the member questions now.
Okay.
So Bubbly Reef, what is? Oh, so this is. I've got a Reflow Auto water changer. I've had for years. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
And the question is about the Reflow Auto water changer. What's the trick to keep the water exactly the same level after the auto water change? And that's a good question because I don't quite know what happens, but it's a plastic tub that you fill with new salt water, and then you connect a drain to your tank and an outlet, so it pushes water in and then drains water out your tank, and it basically mixes your new water with your tank water. And what I don't know if it for some reason you end up, your water level drops in your main aquarium by at least a few liters. It's more than there is space in the tubes of the auto water change. So I don't know what's happening, but anyway, yeah, I get that every single time. I either leave the auto top off on and it just adds a couple of liters of fresh water, or what I've started doing recently is I turn the auto top off during the water change, which takes 2 hours, and then when that's done, if the water level has dropped by 2 liters, I add 2 liters from the water changer, i.e. the old water. Now I put that back in, and then it's back at the right level. But the real answer is just test your salinity afterwards, and it doesn't really matter which of those methods you do. But it's funny that it does that. I never quite worked out exactly why, because obviously it's got to fill the tube, doesn't it? But I don't know. That's what I do. One of those two. Next question is from Rich's Reef. Why is it important to harvest macroalgae in a refugium setup? Doesn't removing some of the chaeto reduce the amount of amount your refugium can photosynthesize, and therefore also temporarily reduce the uptake of nutrients? You've never had a refugium,
No,
right?
never had one. But I think no. Let's see what you say first before I say something stupid.
I want to know what you say now.
No, so basically, there's a limited amount of space in your refugium, so you have to create space for more growth.
You'll be surprised how much you can, because when it grows out and it'll grow out quite loose at first.
Yeah.
And then when it fills up the space, it
Yeah.
starts to fill up the space in between the strands, so it gets really thick.
Yeah.
And if you leave it for ages and don't pull it out, like if you take, I've got one that I set up a month ago. If I pulled it out now, there'd just be strands and it'd be like really loose and it'd be quite light. Yeah. In 6 months' time, and you should harvest it a lot more frequently than that. In 6 months' time, it's like this dense, thick mat. It's like solid to the point that when you harvest it, auto top off comes in and adds like a gallon of water. But the answer to that is that, yeah, so actually you're exactly right. When you pull out chaeto, it does reduce the amount of algae that can photosynthesize. I always struggle with that word. Yeah. So it does reduce the amount of algae. So it does affect things. And actually what I found, really what you should do, and I don't do this because I'm too lazy, but you should harvest a small amount every single week. And then it keeps it nice and steady. But you will find if you test your nitrates regularly, and if you get a thick load of chaeto, when you pull that chaeto out, your nitrates will go up. So you can regulate your nitrates using harvesting. Basically, it's not an exact science.
Yeah.
And also, actually, your pH will drop if you take out a massive amount as well. Not enough that it should bother you. It doesn't matter. But yeah, it's you've identified a downside of refugiums. But really, the real answer is harvest it as often as you can be asked. Ideally once a week, but that's a bit extra. I think once a month is probably the way to go.
Is it easy to get out half of it?
Yeah,
because I'm literally imagining that as you imagine like spaghetti, as you pull it, more and more and more of it keeps coming, doesn't it?
It's kind of, so it's not slippery like zini or whatever. It's just it's grippy. Like there's no problem gripping it, and you can pull out loads because it all tangles together. So it's like back in the days when I had hair. In fact, this is
many years ago,
when I had McDonald's curtains, if my hair got knotted, that's what it's like. So sometimes when you're pulling the cheetah out, you've got to put both hands in and rip off the new stuff from some out. So, but you can do it easily. It's like Velcro, basically, like a light version of Velcro. So yeah, but yeah, it's a good question actually, to be fair. But yeah, just monitor your nitrates and reduce as per when you need to. And Tom again, double question, Tom. When is the best time to test? I really like this question, right before a water change, midweek, before and after a water change. Is there a settling in period for things in the tank to take effect, like dosing, water changes, etc., etc.? There's no real proper answer to this, but I love the question because this is something that I used to obsess about. But the real answer is it doesn't really matter for the most part when you test, as long as you test the same time every time you test. So if you test alkalinity, for example, every day, test it at 4 p.m. or 8 a.m. or whatever. Every single day must be the same time, because almost all parameters will fluctuate throughout the day. So if you test it at 10 p.m. one day and 8 a.m. the next day, you're not getting a true reading. However, I don't think there's a right answer. If you want to test it before or after a water change, in theory, you're really doing both is probably the best way to do it. But if you're only going to do one, which is most people, do it before, because you want to know what your problem is.
Yeah,
you don't want to know your test result after you've fixed part of it.
Yeah.
So if you ever send off an ICP test, do it before you do a water change, because otherwise you're getting an artificially 10% better result. So, but really, the more you test, the more interesting stuff you'll find. So if you test phosphate 3 times a day and I've never done that. But you
You
might
can tell.
notice, yeah, exactly. But with phosphate, it's probably fairly stable. But with alkalinity is a really good example. If you
Yeah.
test alkalinity 3 times a day on an established tank with lots of coral, you'll get 3 different results, unless you've discovered a miracle way of pegging it at the exact amount.
Exactly.
So test as much as you can, and then you'll find out. But really, just test at the same time each day is the only thing that really matters, I think. Did you say that? Anything else you'd add to that?
No. I do exactly what you said. I test just before I do my water changes. I like to get everything. I have like one big fish maintenance day and get it all done in one go. And starting with the testing, because I can then go, do I need to adjust my dosing pumps before I do the water change? Because other than that, as you said, the water change will make it look like I need to adjust my dosing pumps less. So
I'm going to out myself, and I'm going to put this on the screen without checking it first, which is probably not a good idea. But these are my test results from my 3 tanks. So let's have a look and see what time I've tested. Oh God, it varies. So actually, let's water box tank 8:40, 6 o'clock. Oh, hang on, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8:30, 8:50, 8:30, 8 o'clock, 9:30. So I vary it a lot, but you've got to bear in mind if you're not testing at the same time, it's not quite a true result. But with that, for example, some of them are like 2 weeks apart, so it doesn't really matter so much. But if you're testing, like if you want to establish your alk, you need to be testing every day at the same time for a week, and then you'll work out. And I always try to avoid the time when, like, if my doser is set to dose at midday, I try to do it before then. But you'd be unlucky to suck up a bit of water with double the alcohol. So
see, I'm always hesitant about testing phosphate and nitrate just after I've fed. But I do wonder how much of a difference that actually makes.
Do you know what is so stupid? I've always wanted to test before and after, like an hour later, to see.
Yeah.
But I've never done it.
I can't imagine it affects nitrate, because that has to go through the nitrogen cycle.
This is true.
But it might affect phosphate, because obviously the food contains phosphate, some foods.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've always wondered that.
Nitrate and phosphate don't tend to fluctuate. Certainly not like in the way.
I know yours are just on like a steady incline, aren't they?
Yeah, just going up. So yeah, I don't. But I've always wanted to test that. And when I get there's this Reef Factory Smart Tester coming. Yeah. When I get that and set up for phosphate, I'm just going to set it to test every like 5 minutes, basically, because I'm just interested to see what it does. That'll just be interesting.
Yeah.
But there you go. So there's your answer. Doesn't really matter. And that concludes, well, it does matter, but it doesn't. That concludes the member questions, which means we're on to the Prestige Reef Dork Show Facebook group. The first post is one that I feel conflicted about.
Oh, yeah.
Because on the one hand, I think it's really cool and a really cool example of what you can do with basically no maintenance. And on the other hand, I don't want to encourage
people to do no maintenance. Yeah.
No dosing, no testing.
No testing.
In particular, no testing.
Bloody hell.
But I'm gonna show it anyway because it's a cool tank. So this is from Chris Pull, and this is his little softy tank. Let's get a close up one.
I quite like that.
That's all right, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I quite like that a lot. I reckon there'll be a lot of movement as well.
Yeah. He's only got his oh no, he has got a power. He's got an AI Nero. Xenia. Are they rock flower anemones or are they mushrooms?
Rock flowers on the bottom. You've got a bubble tip at the top left. Or they might, I don't know if you're the screen's back.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, bubble tip. Yeah, you're right. And then
there's a couple of gorgonians in there.
Yeah, GSP.
Good old fashioned Xenia, see?
Noob Psych K7 Light.
Never heard of it.
Which I think that's a relatively cheap one. And I like that because it shows that lighting doesn't have to be, but you don't need a castle. It costs like £1 million, although they are good. But I like that. The only thing I didn't like, and I did pause for like half a second, was I don't want to encourage no testing. But at the same time, I love that that's basically no maintenance. And I thought it was quite cool.
Well, if you think about it, there's no very minimal alkalinity consumption, very minimal magnesium consumption. That's why they can get away with no testing.
No skimmer, no dosing, no testing, and totally silent. So with that, then the no skimmer thing is that's I've got no problem with that whatsoever. In fact, I was having a conversation with some people on Ultimate Reef this week about why I don't have a skimmer on my Fluval Evo.
Yeah.
And a couple of people were like, "I've got a skimmer on my Fluval Evo. It looks, you should see the credit pulls out. It looks wicked." And for me, my Fluval Evo, the corals look really healthy. The filter sponge I use looks just the same as a skimmer does. It's got the crap in it that I'm pulling out.
Yeah.
And ultimately, why do I need if the corals are healthy? Why do I care about a skimmer? That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So no skimmer, wicked, happy with that. Especially on a small tank, it's just not necessary in my opinion. No dosing, cool, soft corals. So I've never kept a soft coral only tank. So there must be some kind of uptake, because even things like snails, shells, and what's the purple stuff called? Coralline.
Yes.
Uses alkalinity and calcium. So there must be some uptake. But if he's doing water changes on a soft coral tank, maybe that's okay.
Yeah.
And no dosing. Cool. Yeah. Well, what was the other one? No testing. Yeah, I don't like no testing.
No, I know what you mean. Look,
because he's not having success because he's not testing.
Yeah.
He's having success in spite of the fact that he's not testing.
It's his luck that he's having success without testing.
7 months old.
Yeah. No, look, if you can do it and it works for you, then great. It doesn't work for everyone, especially when people want to put like some of the more hard corals in there. But I actually normally I wouldn't go. I would like a soft coral tank, whereas I look at that one and go, actually, as for a nano tank, that's quite nice.
It's really like, oh my god, even a nano tank, bloody hell.
Yeah, no, you know me, I hate nano tanks, and I like the fact it's got a little top on it as well. No testing. No testing, you lose a few points. The fact you got a fish lid on your little nano tank, great.
That's quite a fancy lid as well. That's one of those polycarbonate ones.
Yeah.
Although they're quite cheap on that. I think my one on my Fluval Evo was 50 quid. Something like that. I think I got it on sale though, but still.
Yeah.
But that was a really nice tank. I like that a lot. And it's bright. Do you know the other thing with this is that is like a very yellow light, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
And yet the corals look fantastic.
Generally, soft corals do look better under slightly more. If you it's not just Xenia. There's yellow polyps.
Yeah.
Under blue lights, they just look completely brown. Under whiter lights, they're almost gold. And I put them in one of my customers. I set a tank up for someone, and I put them, and she wanted them, and I put them in her tank, and she wanted quite white light. And I was like, these look like they're a completely different coral. These are actually nice.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, they just look brown.
Things like GSP looks fantastic under blues though, and I'm sure these lights go blue in the evening. And bubble tip anemones look good on blue. And that is that a Nepthia on the left by the bubble tip?
It's hard to see.
I don't really know soft corals. That looks like it will look good under blues, but most of the rest will just look good under whites. That's just a cool tank. I like that.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it looks in a year's time, because there's a toadstool in there that's like this big, which in a year's time will be this big.
But come back to us in 6 months' time or something. Post it again, and I'll pull it up because I'm interested to see how you get on with that. So, and if good or bad, come back to us. I'll be interested. Be really interested if it's doing really well. But the trouble with it, and the only bad thing about a small tank with soft corals is they grow quick.
Yes, very.
Someone asked in the chat earlier if what's the little blastos? If blastos grow as quick as Duncans. In my experience, they grow quite slowly, but you've had a lot more.
Definitely slower than Duncans. But they're not. I wouldn't say they're overly slow growing. Some of my blastos have grown very, very quickly. I was actually surprised that they grew that quickly, because I'd never really remember. I've started to keep corals during the process of having the farm that I've never had before. So when I put blastos in, I was like, oh yeah, I've heard they grow really slowly, and they actually some of them grow quite fast. And for some reason, I couldn't even get Duncans to stay alive at one point, but they're all fine now.
Do you target feed your blastos?
No, I don't. Well, to be fair, so I put the fish food in the same place every day, and the place it gets squirted in is where the blastos are. So I wonder if that is so. I'm not target feeding them because I'm feeding the fish, but the blastos are. They literally will eat whole mysis. They just grab hold of it and will slowly eat it. So that's probably why they're growing fast.
Yeah, that's the way I like to think. To be fair, someone's asked bubble tip or rock flower anemone for a nano tank. Have you ever kept a bubble tip?
I've got loads of them. Not loads of them. I've got about 15 of them probably in a little. The problem, and people go, "Oh, I want to buy one," and I can't sell it to them because I can't get them out of the basket. So
Okay.
I need them to grow on like a flat surface, so I can
Yes.
just like break it off and then sell them to people. But I've not got around to that yet.
So I've never kept a bubble tip, but for a nano, I would probably say I've seen plenty of people with a bubble tip, but rock flower anemones are wicked.
It will
they
fill
won't
your
host
nano
a
very
clownfish.
quickly.
Yeah, they won't host a clownfish like a bubble tip will.
No.
But if you can get oh god, what are they called? Anemone shrimp that will sit in there. You can get sexy shrimp that will sit in there, and you can get anemone crabs, the little fan hand guys. They're wicked. Have I got them? Or did they? No, I've got one. Yeah, in fact, can I see him now? I can. He's so cool. And they sit in. Mine sits underneath the rock flower anemone, and like sticks his head up and his little hands above the oh cheers, sticks his hands above the
look at that! What a legend!
I know. And she's put it in the bottle this time because it's easier for me to hold because I can't grip. But yeah, so I love rock flower anemones. They won't host your clownfish like which is what people want bubble tips for, really.
Yeah, but
I should get a bubble tip at some point. But...
I have never had a clownfish which hosts a which if you don't say it's the right way, people come and get you.
The anemone hosts.
I've never had. Yes, an anemone that hosts a clownfish. I've never, for whatever reason, my clowns have never been interested in living in one.
The pink skunk clownfish are the ones that live in
they're the ones that live in bubble tips. Yeah,
but you can still train supposedly. Like apparently, and I've never done this, but apparently, if you put a tablet next to the tank and show it a video of a clownfish in the anemone, apparently that just sounds like the most ridiculous thing ever. But I've seen enough people say they had success. Maybe it worked in spite of that, but I like the idea of the clownfish watching a video going, "Oh, cool! I'll do that."
I think the thing that Milev's Reef did is he almost like
he's got a tube, but
he like forced the clownfish into the anemone, so they didn't have a choice.
Work though, because I saw what was the Australian girl? Not Parker's Reef because that's a dude.
Australian girl,
Lauren, Simple Aquariums.
Yeah.
She tried that and they weren't having it. I think. I'm sure I tried, but I think that's cool. But yeah, so I would go for the rock flower anemone though, personally. But bubble tips are wicked. I'd love to have a bubble tip one day. Crazy that I've never had one actually.
Because that was maroons live in bubble tips naturally. I've got a couple of maroons. They're like a divorced couple because the female lives in the torch corals and the male lives in the Duncans.
Are they the aggressive ones or is that tomatoes?
Both maroons and tomatoes can be aggressive. Yeah. But I've had a clownfish. I might have said this last week. I think probably like 14 years, never bitten me. Now literally every time I put my hand in the tank, it bites me. When I put food in, so I have to put the mastic on the glass for one of the cough bands in there, and every time I do that, it literally will bite my hand. So I've now got a little guard for my hand, so I can put the mastic in, so it can't bite me.
That's funny. Are they quite big? Do they like actually hurt?
Oh yeah, but she's about 12 years old. She's the same size as your adult female in your main tank. She's like a big one.
The size of my fist, more or less.
I know.
It's a slight exaggeration, but not much.
Yeah,
big girl.
She's a big one. But the maroons are even bigger than that.
Yeah. So
they've never bitten me.
Okay. My little tiny diddy clowns, my snowflakes in the Fluval Evo nibble me. Yeah. They don't do any damage at all. It's hilarious. It's just annoying. It's like, can you just bugger off? I'm trying to put a coral in place.
The thing I found interesting, there was two things I found interesting. This isn't actually really part of but you might find this interesting. The first one is the clown has only started biting me since I put the male clown. I put a male maroon clown with her.
Yeah.
Since I put that in, that's when she started biting me. It's almost like she's showing off. She's not a big fan of the little maroon clownfish. She's never shown any aggression to him, but they don't swim around together. And the other thing which I noticed is that, and this might seem crazy, fish are willing to wait to eat better tasting food. I'm not even joking. So I have a copper band, which if I feed them in the evening, it won't eat mastic. It literally has no interest in it because it knows that mysis is coming. If I put the mastic in the morning, it'll eat it straight away. It's like it literally doesn't want to fill up on like the mastic so it can have the good stuff. Those good pieces of mice. And I'm not joking. This is definitely a thing.
It's like when you get a big bread starter and you got a steak coming. You're like,
yes.
I don't want to fill up on that. Yeah.
I know it sounds like a crazy thing. Maybe
It
I
does.
spend too much time in the coral farm,
Yeah.
but you do start to notice things about individual fish, which you go, that's odd. But I promise you, if you put mastic in it, it won't eat it. It literally will wait for the food, and then it will eat the mastic after it's eaten the mysis. And that might be a 5-minute gap.
Mm.
So I'm telling you, these fish are smarter than we think. And I think
Oh,
cod fans are
completely.
proper dumb. So I genuinely think cod fans are the dumbest fish.
Yeah. Okay. That's funny. I can't remember what the question was now. What was the question? Don't remember.
I can't remember. I just went off on a tangent.
Started answering about an hour ago. I think my clownfish, I think they nibble me because they're in such a small tank. Because in my main tank, they're big and they lay eggs all the time, and they never go anywhere. Even when I pull their zoa out, their zoa that they live in, I pull that out.
Yeah.
They don't go for me. So
With
I think
your bare hands, and then you lick them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the zoas. Don't lick the zoas.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. Yeah. But so I think that the snowflakes in my nano nibble me because it's a small tank. So I'm going to sell them, but I would love to actually keep them because I've wanted snowflakes for a while.
Why don't you put them in the cage?
Because I don't want them to be
aggressive.
They're not even aggressive. They just nibble me, and I do wonder if that tank is now big enough because like 3 times the size, and I think it would probably be okay. But I don't know. I'm probably being paranoid, but I don't like. I don't know.
It's not exactly hard to get them out. They're like the easiest fish to catch. So you could just put them in. Then if it doesn't work, just take them out.
They are very cool. And Thomas the cat, by the way, I don't know if you were around at the start.
I know, I saw that.
But I have to hold it like this because my thumb is tender.
I was thinking about doing this.
I can do that. But yeah, no, it's a tender thumb. So, and I might have apparently a scaphoid break doesn't show up straight away. So they said in 2 weeks' time they'll re-X-ray.
It might fall off.
Yeah, they'll re-X-ray.
That's when you know.
I might have broken, but if I've broken both scaphoids, oh god, I'm not having that. But I think it's okay. Anyway, I bite my zoas. It promotes growth.
Well, that's on you, Thomas.
just for the avoidance of doubt, you should not bite zoas.
No,
you will die.
I actually do wonder how how bad they actually are. I know pallies are very bad.
Yeah,
but I'm not willing to try it. Like if I swallowed one, would I die? That's the thing. I'm actually, because if it's that bad, why do they allow people to have them in fish tanks?
This is the thing. I mean? Every now and then, and it's pretty rare, but every now and then, maybe once a year, I get a comment on one of my videos about zoas. I've heard about palitoxin. I'm really nervous about it. I don't know if I should get a saltwater tank because of it. What do you think?
Yeah.
And I can't really answer the question in enough detail on the comment section
without putting you at risk of being sued.
Well, it's not even that, but just you need to give a full answer. But the short answer really for me is, look, yes, there is theoretically a risk with some zoanthids or polythoras. I don't know which you've got to worry about and which you don't.
Yeah.
Grandis pallies, from your experience. But there is a risk with some, but the risk is if you're boiling it or if you're cutting it, that sort of thing. If it's just in your tank, it's not going to walk up your stairs at night and like sneak down your nose. So for me, it's such a minor risk that it's not even worth thinking about.
Yeah.
It's like should I get a Staffordshire Bull Terrier? I'm worried it'll bite me. Staffies are like the nicest dogs in the world, but they're strong. That is a bigger risk for me than a Zoa. Or just any dog. Should I get a dog? Should I get a Labrador? I'm worried it might bite me. It's not going to bite you, but if you're that worried, so the full answer is, if you're that concerned that it's bothering you and you're playing on your mind, then don't get it. You should be able to assess your own risk. Don't do it. But the reality is, my approach to it, I can't tell you how you should approach it, but my approach to it is, it's such a low risk that as long as you're not boiling rock or doing something you shouldn't be doing, something unusual, the risk is almost zero. That's so low that it doesn't concern
what happens. When you see the news articles, people have put for some reason it was called cooking rock, wasn't it? So some people
I see
certain levels
literally
of potentially lower brain cells are literally cooking the rock. and that is not what you're meant to do when it comes to cooking live rock.
No.
You're meant to just put it in a barrel and leave it.
Yeah, a barrel of water.
Yeah, that's when people have problems. That's when you see on the news, fish tank almost kills whole family.
Yeah. And a couple of things. So Thomas the cat says zoas squirt if you frag them. Yeah, they do. And in the way I frag them as well.
Yeah,
they do squirt. But that I wear goggles, to be fair, when I'm fragging zoas.
yeah.
But like if it squirts at me, I don't like panic and phone the hospital immediately. Be like, get an ambulance here. I've got zoa juice on my face. But
famous last words.
Yeah, but you should take it seriously. You shouldn't mess around with it.
Yeah.
And if you're really worried about it, don't keep them.
Yeah.
It's not an issue for me. Anyway, next question is from Chris Buckland on the Facebook group, and he says, "What's the best stuff to buy to glue corals? I've been using this, and that is better coral glue, but it's not that good." He says, "Is that cyanoacrylate?" Yes, it is. So I don't know why it's not good, because the short answer is any cyanoacrylate. It must be cyanoacrylate super glue. But as long as it is, and I think the Gorilla Glue is, as long as it's that stuff, it shouldn't matter. And the coral gel, the super glue gel is generally, I prefer it because it's a bit more squidgy, a bit more meaty. But I buy Polyp Lab. Where is it?
You do the little tube, don't you?
They call it a grenade, and you get like 30 tubes. And the reason I buy that stuff, I don't know if it's probably not the cheapest, but it's not mega expensive.
Yeah.
But I buy it because it comes in tiny little tubes, and I often find that the end dries out. And if I spent 50 quid on a massive Ecotech tube of super glue, it dries
more than
out.
that. It's like 70 now, I think.
70, I'm gutted. Whereas if it's a little one that dries out, I don't really care.
Yeah.
So that's why. And the little tubes, you get them quite a lot. A little tube lasts ages for me. So those are the ones I get. But I don't know if there is a best one as such. Use
Charterhouse, the coral glue is £70 now.
Bloody
Although they're doing a deal, £66.49 if you buy it today. But
and to be fair, you get a lot of it for that.
Yeah, and it does last a long time.
It'll last you a lifetime.
I've used all different sorts of glues, and I will say hands down, Ecotech is without a doubt the best one that I've used.
What's good about it?
It's really thick. I like that it's really thick. Because then it's easy to, and it also, what's the other thing I like about it? The alternative one. So sometimes you get glues and they're quite runny, even when they say thick. And that's so I currently use BRS's one. So BRS, someone imports it over here for some reason, and you can get it. It's quite similar for half the amount, but it's a little bit more runny. But it's also sets much quicker. Whereas the Ecotech one I find doesn't set as quickly, which for me is ideal because I can do 100 frags, go squirt all the glue in all of them, and then
go back to the first one.
Yeah, and I can put all the frags all the corals in the plugs. Whereas with the BRS one, I've tried that, and by the time I've got to like the 50th one, some of them have gone hard. If you see what I mean.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so that's what you use. I use the Polyp Lab stuff, and I will always use that because I really like it. But this is one thing you gave me recently. You gave me this BRS Insta set, which you can get off eBay, which is the tube in the middle. And I did actually find that bottle they've just put a bulk resupply label on it. And if you can find the same stuff with the exact same bottle, just without that label on it, probably cheaper. I don't know, but that stuff I love it because it instantly sets the super glue. It's just so cool.
Well, that's the super glue I buy. I literally buy it off him, and it's, as I say, it's about, I think it's half the price of the Ecotech stuff.
What's it called? Aqua Filter Socks on eBay.
What I will say is that one, however, if you don't look after it so with the Ecotech one, I literally will leave it with the lid off in the coral room, and it doesn't, and it's fine. That's good. I because usually the top of it will go hard, and then you just get the coral glues, and then you just break it off, and it seals itself. Whereas with one of the BRS ones, they just ruined the whole bottle. So I learned my lesson.
Yeah, okay. But so there you go. So we both use different ones, and I'm going to show you, just for the sake of visuals, this is the stuff I use, Polyp Lab Premium. So how many did you get in there? 7.
To be fair, I've never used that, so I don't actually know how good that is.
I wouldn't say that is better than any other super glue. You must get it. I've used loads of different ones, not because I've wanted to try them. Well, maybe it is. I don't know. I've just bought different types, and I've never found a single super glue. And I've used the Ecotech one as well. I've never found one that I've been like, oh my God, where have you been all my life? I've never noticed a massive difference between them. I just like that the Polyp Lab ones come in small tubes. Basically, that's it. But there we go.
For most people, though, that's what they need. For most people, that will probably last them months.
Yeah, it does. I fragged a load of my nicest SBS corals about a month ago, which I now can't sell because I can't bloody bag them up.
Yeah,
because of my hand. But I used less than a tube of this super glue stuff, half a tube or something, and I don't know, 30 frags. It lasts ages for a normal person, not someone like you who frags every 5 minutes.
Even with both of the coral glues, the Ecotech one or the other, I'm always surprised how long it lasts. It just seems there's just so much in the bottle.
This is what I get. It's called the Polyp Lab Grenade, 35 tubes. I think it's less than that, but there's loads and they last so long. But anyway, next one is from Neil Lolly, who says he's been after a Juggernaut Monty, but struggling to find any for sale. I found this, but it's not being sold as a Juggernaut. Can anyone confirm this is Juggernaut?
Well, I can't offer anyone a Juggernaut because the piece that I got from you is fine. It's alive, but as you know, sometimes when you move a coral to a different tank, it starts to sulk, and so it's. I think obviously it came from a very bright light in your tank, and it's not. That's weird. Why has it got really bright behind me all of a sudden? It's not as bright in your tank as it was in mine, probably because it's lower phosphates and less light.
I had it in a shaded area because it didn't like strong light. Yeah. But even then, it was probably getting quite a lot and a lot less phosphate. But so you've got a colony of the stuff. Yeah. And the reason really I like it, excuse me, the reason I mention it is because that looks the same. That to me is the same as, and that I think that is Juggernaut. And I've seen it I went to Signature Frags and they know their stuff when it comes to high end SBS. And he had a Juggernaut that looked to my eye exactly the same as the one I had, which looks the same as that. And you can get you can get nicer colors out of it. Yeah. But that is, I believe that is a Juggernaut. So Neil, if you're after a Juggernaut, buy that one. I have a couple of frags for sale, but I can't sell them because I can't get my bloody hand in the tank.
Not good.
Come back to me in a couple of months.
What about that voice activated robot you've got? That
I know, yeah. No, I didn't say robot. I was very clear.
Yeah, I know you said tool, didn't you? You said a voice activated tool. I think you're gonna be in the doghouse tonight.
I know. So there we go. And the next one is we're revisiting the Asterina starfish topic. So this is from Aaron Cam. And as I'm saying this, I think, I was going to say I think he might be in Australia, but he's got a DD Reef Pro. So I think he's probably in the UK. Is this going to be
wow.
How many Asterinas has he got? Count them.
Yeah.
And they're quite a good size, most of them. So the reason I posted this is because go on.
That sand bed will concern me a lot.
Oh, that's big. Jesus, look, he's got like 3-inch sand bed.
I know, but look at the colours.
Purple and green. Yeah. Is that a new tank, Aaron? That looks like 6 months old or so. That's a lot of sand. Oh, I need to talk about sand.
It's not just that. Sometimes things decay in the sand, don't they? So that's why I like to keep the sand bed between 1 and 1.5 inches.
But that's what I mean. So if you've got a 3-inch sand bed, that's too much.
Yeah.
And you might even get anaerobic.
I don't like those black the black patches on there. It would be a concern for me.
That looks like cyano to me.
Yeah,
like purple. Anyway, the reason I pulled this up is because he's got I think he's bought there we go. He's bought a Harlequin shrimp. And what I wanted to say with this is, so if you bought a Harlequin shrimp because you want to keep a Harlequin shrimp because they're cool, I would always discourage it, but whatever. However, if you want to get rid of Asterinas, that many Asterinas, it's going to be, 35 years before the Harlequin shrimp makes a dent, maybe 33 if you're lucky. And there's a one-time only offer. This does not apply to everybody. One-time only offer, Aaron. If you're in the UK, I will post you my Asterina scraping device that is brilliant. I'll print myself another one. So if you want this and you're in the UK, and if you want to keep a Harlequin shrimp, then you don't want this. But if you want to get rid of Asterinas, this will do it in This will do 90% of it in 10 minutes. So if
you will
want
then
it,
have a hungry shrimp.
that's the thing. I think if he's got that, then don't worry about it. But if you want to get rid of Asterinas, let me know and I'll send you this.
I have been shocked how slow the Harlequin shrimp is eating the Asterinas because remember that he's only got one tray to deal with before I move him to the next tray and then the next tray.
Yeah.
But he is so slow. I thought it was going to be a thing where you put in a month later, you've got none left, and then you've got a problem. Like with things that eat Aptasia, they usually eat Aptasia pretty quickly. Like they'll wipe out a population within like a month. Yeah. Whereas with Asterinas, he's going to be there for a couple of years before he puts a dent in those.
I was exactly the same. It takes months. So if you want to get rid of them, Harlequin shrimp, they'll do it eventually. Although when you take the shrimp out, they'll come back. But they're not an effective. They're not a quick method. But anyway, but I just wanted to, if you want the removing device, tell me and I'll send it to you. And that concludes the member questions. Almost an hour and a half.
There you go. We're dragging this out, aren't we?
Facebook show and member questions. But the thing with this is,
join the Facebook page.
Oh, join the Facebook page. It's great. It really is. It really is.
And 1,000 people.
I know. Oh, I was hoping it was 983. I think I was hoping to get to 1,000 at this point. But anyway, but join it. It's a really good. I love it. We say this every week, and I didn't see if what's her face, Bubbly Reef answered.
Yeah.
Whether or not you suggested the Facebook page, I can't remember. But anyway, join the Facebook page. It's cool. The Prestige Reef Dork Show Facebook group. Facebook. The Prestige Reef Dork Show. Search on Facebook. So that means we move on to the Prestige Reef Fish of the Week.
Well, it's actually Marina's Fish of the Week.
The Marina's
Prestige Reef of the Week fish.
Yeah.
So,
and you don't tell me what it is, so I'm going to have to get typing. I've got to type with one hand, one finger.
Oh, you'll be fine, I'm sure. I've given you an hour and 20 minutes of sympathy. That's enough. So
the colour of that hand, though.
To be fair, that is like concerning.
Looks like I got jaundice. Anyway,
right. The fish of the week is not a particularly exciting one, but this is the one. As I said, Maria looked and she picked it, and she went for a yellow coral goby.
I love them.
And the reason I thought it was an interesting choice, she was actually looking for the smallest marine fish you can get.
Yeah.
And that was basically what came up. There's a couple of things that people don't know. Firstly, they are not entirely reef safe.
Not in the slightest bit reef safe with this.
There you go. Well, I mean, look, in a soft coral tank, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
But they because a lot of people will be searching for really small fish because the majority of marine fish keepers, I reckon, I would assume this is correct, have nanotanks. I think the majority of people in the hobby have nanotanks, so they will be looking for small fish like this. So, and people are buying them, not realizing that they're not fully reef safe. And the other thing is, they also are toxic. Did you know that?
I didn't know.
Yeah.
Did you eat one?
No. Similar to a mandarin, I think, where they release a toxin, so fish don't eat them. Supposedly.
Oh, interesting.
I learned that from Practical Fish Keeping about
PFK
20 minutes ago while you were talking.
Oh, really? Cool.
I actually did.
I wish PFK did more saltwater stuff. They used to do it occasionally.
Yeah, I know.
But anyway, no, I love them. I had one and it ate my. What they do is and I had it in a tank with. It was a mixed reef, but it had enough SPS in it.
Yeah,
and they nibble at they destroy the polyps at the base of the coral.
Yeah,
and that's where I think they do it to lay their eggs. This one was on its own, so I don't know what he was doing. Maybe he wanted a den for some private time. I don't know, but they just strip you the base of your coral. It's really bloody annoying. So I've never kept one since then, and he was really difficult to catch. Really difficult.
Yeah,
but they're so cool.
Have you ever had the experience where they basically starve because they don't get enough food?
Oh no.
Yeah, I've seen a few of them, especially in fish shops where they're really thin. And I assume it's because they're not eating properly. They also come in green and black, I think, as well. I don't know if there's any other colors.
There's a green one. Yeah, there's a green coral goby, but they're a bit more fatty type. They're a different shape.
There's definitely a black one as well.
I don't think I've seen a black one. This is the green one that I've seen. They're a bit bigger.
Yeah, that's the green one. See, I quite like the green one. I prefer the green one to the yellow one. It's got that sort of red stripes on it, so it's a bit more interesting.
Oh, that looks like a panda goby.
I was gonna say there's even panda ones as well. I just remembered.
Yeah, I think is that freshwater or a brackish fish?
No, they are literally panda gobies are also
Oh, I'm sure I used to have a panda goby in my freshwater tank.
well, did it
Maybe
last
I
long?
didn't. No, yeah, these ones.
Yeah,
No.
you get if you type in panda coral goby, you'll see those.
Yeah, I don't know actually. Anyway,
But you also get all black ones as
no.
well.
These were the ones. Look, freshwater. Those are the. I was years ago.
Freshwater.
Anyway, I know. Yeah. But there we go. So, yeah, gobies.
There you go. So has Marie got a good choice in fish? You liked it today, so
yeah, cool. I like them. Yeah. I wouldn't have one. Annoying.
Yeah. Oh, that's because it would start destroying your coral, wouldn't it?
But I've thought of having one in the cade because that's going to be. Yeah. I won't have any any SPS at all in there.
Yeah.
But I wonder if they'll be like, you know what? There's no SPS in here, so bollocks. I'm going to eat a bit of LPS.
Do you think, if you think about it, are they the most smallest problematic fish you can think of? Because most small fish are pretty fine.
Exactly. Yeah.
But that one's not. And there's loads of problematic big fish, but I reckon that one wins the title.
It is. Yeah. There's so what's the it looks like a royal grammar, but it's evil. Dotty
backs. Yeah.
Purple royal dotty back. Something like
There's
that.
a few different ones.
They're probably twice the size of a yellow crown goby, but they're the closest rival, but they're too big.
Yeah.
But they look so cool. They look so much better than royal grammars as well. I'm gutted they're evil.
Yeah, true.
All right, so do we have a prestige reef coral of the week, or
I put a lot of effort in? During the 30-second title sequence.
Do you remember last week when you were like, "Do you know what? I put."
Oh God, I knew you were going to say this. I'm going to pick fish that are. Look, you can't always pick fish which are interesting, but when I come across something, I go, that's something that's worth showing. If not, I get Marine to do it.
It's just before you talk about that, Carl. Mark Thor suggested the orchid dotty back. Are they the ones with the purple stripe on their eyes?
Yeah,
Pseudochromis. They're actually relatively peaceful for a dotty back.
Are they?
Yeah. They're okay. I can't remember.
I had a sunrise dotty back, which was like the devil.
Fridmani, Pseudochromis fridmani, I think it is the nice one. Pseudochromis fridmani.
You throwing out your scientific names.
Orchid dotty back, yes. But this one is okay, but it's that little purple stripe over his eye you've got to look really close for, because there's a purple dotty back, I think. I can't remember what they're called.
There's a pink dotty back.
Maybe, but there's one that's this kind of color without the stripe, and they are pure evil. But these guys, the Fridmani, they're actually not too bad.
It's when you see them side by side, there is quite a big color difference between the two of them. But if you go in and you're not really sure what you're looking at, which there will be a lot of people that are like that, and they go, "Oh, I'm looking for that purple fish," then I can see why people will get confused.
Have you thought about what you'll charge for a frag of Juggernaut, Monty?
No idea. I've not even thought about selling it yet. I feel obliged that I have to keep it for at least a period of time, because obviously you gave it to me.
Well, you sell it whenever you want. I don't care. But when just whenever it's looking good, I guess. But this is in America, 130 quid, 130 bucks. Sorry, that feels expensive to me. At the end of the day, if it's nice, it's nice. I did find it tricky, not tricky to keep, but it grew very, very slowly, very slowly.
Yeah. I think I'm always of the opinion that if you want something, then and it's especially if it's like one of a kind. How big is the frag? It's hard to say. But if you want something, the price doesn't. As long as you can keep it alive, it doesn't actually matter.
That's one thing that I've done better recently. When I used to be like, I do want that coral, but it's quite expensive, so I'll get a cheap one instead.
Yeah.
And then you get the cheap one, and you're like, it's not as nice. So I don't pay much attention to that anymore. I'm a bit more bold. That's probably because I'm not as skinned as I was.
I know what you mean. I'm still exactly the same as I've always been. I will have nice corals to sell, but I have no interest in keeping nice corals for myself. I don't know why. I just don't. So I don't particularly fancy
that black and red lobo.
That was amazing, and I've still got it. Got it. That wasn't necessarily like super expensive. That's not like one of those torch corals. That was just an unusual thing that I've not seen before, which is why I liked it. and someone tried to buy it the other day, and I said no.
Oh, I thought we got past this. I thought we got to the point where you were like, okay, I'll do it. But
There are every so often like that does happen with pieces that I keep for a while and then sell on. But no, I still got that one at the moment. So
okay,
anyway, do you want to do the coral of the week?
I do. Yes.
This is going to offend a lot of people probably. And I picked this one because I don't like it. And I think of all the fancy ones, this is the shittest. And this is not good because this is a dragon soul torch coral. I just don't get it. Like, if you're going to get a fancy torch coral, get a better one than a dragon soul. This is my idea.
Some of them, do you know what? There's Dragon Soul and Hellfire look the same to me, and I'm sure they are the same coral with just
not
like...
when you know what you're looking for, they are quite different. Like the Hellfires are much nicer.
That is labeled as Dragon Soul on this website. That to me is... What do you think of as a Dragon Soul? Is it this one?
Yes, that's why. Yeah.
So this is one I have that I cooked the gold tips out of.
Yeah. I just think, like, and don't get me wrong, I like blasphemy. I've got a Dragon Soul on the website right now, so I'm like telling people not to buy it. But I've seen loads of torches, and some of them you go, wow. I quite like the Hellfire ones. The New York Knicks ones are also like quite different. They're quite a different looking, like they're more bronze than gold. And then you get like the really, really nice gold ones. But I think of all the nice torches, these are not the nicest one. I'm seeing you on Wednesday, and you've just hurt me in my Dragon Soul.
Yes. So have you bought one?
Do you know what I love? I love the fact that with the comment section, like some people agree with you, and then some people are like, "Finally, someone said it."
Yeah. So this is I have this one. I have that coral. Only it looks more like this now. Which and that's a lovely coral. But I wouldn't have paid the amount of money I paid for it originally if if I'd have known I was going to cook its colours out. But I actually go on.
What I would say to people: buy the corals you like.
Yeah,
buy the corals you like the look of. If you want to have expensive corals or you want to have a named coral, go for it. It doesn't matter to me. Like, but don't buy corals because they're named if you don't actually like them and you're not looking. You understand what I'm trying to say?
100%. Yeah.
Like, just get what you want. Like, and these days I'm happy to go and I don't really go to a lot of shops anymore. But if I see a coral, I don't go, oh, is that some sort of fancy named one? I just go, I bought a mushroom the other day purely because it was like red with like a sort of metallic red rim around the edge. I thought, not seen that before. It cost me hardly anything, 10 quid, I think. But because I liked it, I bought it.
That's the way to do it.
There will be so many people that would have overlooked that because it's not something fancy.
I buy corals because I like them, and once I've decided to buy them and I've bag it up, I ask what it's called because I still want to know. But it's funny because there are times when I went to your farm, I don't know, a few months ago, and I bought that. Is it a Bugatti chalice, the red one?
Yes, yeah.
And I saw that, I was like, that's really nice. But I thought when I saw it, I didn't think it was going to be an expensive one because it wasn't like the multicolours. It's two colours. And they're very nice.
Yeah.
But I didn't think it was going to be one of the really fancy ones. And it turns out I've got quite expensive taste in corals.
Yeah, clearly.
Because what I now do is I don't ask the price.
Yeah.
I say I want that. And then I just close my eyes and hand over my credit card.
Yeah.
And hope it's not expensive. But it turns out more often than not, they're expensive.
Yeah. Look, there's definitely some relation between nice corals and expensive corals, but there is also a very, very big correlation between nice corals and named corals.
Exactly, and that's the thing. I've got no problem spending good money on a good coral.
Yeah,
but when you're just buying a coral because it's a Pikachu aquapora or what, it's a special tenuous or whatever, which I've done in the past before. I'm as guilty as anyone. That's stupid. And you shouldn't do it. All right, so that's the Prestige Reef Fish of the Week and the Prestige Reef Coral of the Week. I can't believe you put forward a coral and said you hate it.
Did I say I hated it? I don't see why people like it. I don't see why people like it. And as I said, I should be saying that they're wonderful because I've literally got one on the website. I should be saying one of the other torches I don't get that are out of stock. But look, each to their own. I like that lobophilia. You don't like that lobophilia. I probably couldn't even give you that lobophilia. So
I'll take it off your hands.
Yeah.
120 quid your Dragonfire, your whatever it was.
I don't know. Sometimes I don't. Oh, someone just put an order in. Let's see if they just bought that.
That's funny.
Please have bought that. Let's have a look.
If you're gonna buy
They just bought it.
Really,
They did.
If you're gonna buy a frag off Prestige Reef website,
That's the one to
one,
buy.
oh, mate, it's so nice.
I know, that's the one.
Anyway,
it's funny how I've literally just went, I hate this coral. Someone watching this live stream has just gone, I'm gonna go buy that.
Interesting. Just sort me out with my commission later. Cheers, mate. Thanks.
It's not James. James didn't buy it. Someone called Ben bought it.
Oh, okay. Maybe James' name is Ben.
Maybe.
It's anonymity. All right. So there we go. There is the Prestige Reef Fish of the Week and the Prestige Reef Coral of the Week, which means after an hour and 35 minutes, it's the news. Hour and a half, Ryan.
I'll do the shuffling for you.
I can't shuffle with, well, as it were. Look at that. Look at the colour of that hand. Every time I see it, I'm like, oh, it's disgusting.
Out of interest, what colour do you see when you look at that hand?
I'm not engaging that conversation.
Do you know how hard it was for me? You know how you said at the very beginning, you were like, look, this is very serious. I don't want any jokes. If you're going to make any jokes, piss off. And then, when you went, it was a grey car, I was like, so was it grey?
Yeah.
I had to hold everything in.
Well, thank you. James isn't his real name. He also had a witch hunter, Monty. Ooh, that's true. Very nice. There you go. So Ben James Ben. So news. It's pretty slim pickings in the news this week. But there was one thing I saw on Instagram this week, and we all know that Instagram is where you go for truth.
Yeah.
But this is the Yerple Tang. So the Yerple Tang has its own page, or one of them does. So it's called Yerple_22.
I'm going to sign up to that now because I'm actually interested in how this looks.
The last time we saw one of these, it was looking a bit brown.
Yeah.
It looked a bit rubbish. But I saw that Instagram suggested this to me the other day, and I was like, oh, hello. It's still like early days, but look at this. This is a video of it. That is showing some potential. It's still not like proper deep purple, but the body is that's purple body with yellow fins. And there are loads of videos of it on here where it actually
they got a new follower, Yerple.
There you go.
I don't follow it. Oh, sorry.
That might be just good lighting or whatever, but that looks, and it's still young. And if I'd paid 10 grand for that fish, I'd be gutted. But for a year, I could see that being spectacular. At the moment, it's all there is. But
I'm intrigued by what else is in the tank, because that's not the average. That's not an average cost fish, is it?
I wonder if this is because it's it talks about this is I wonder if this is the breeder when Ping, what's his name, whatever his name was.
Yeah,
because it's not a special tank. It's not that it's a lovely tank. There are some really nice corals and some nice fish, like an Achilles. They're not cheap, but it's not like you might expect to see that in someone like Polo Reef's tank.
Yeah,
and it's not. Have you seen Polo Reef's tank lately?
No.
It's looking fucking amazing. Excuse my French.
I thought you were going to tell me it crashed or something.
No, it looks so bloody good. It's it's grown out.
You got to say that though, because he's your mate.
He's my mate, yeah. But it looks so nice. It's just massively improved in 12 months or whatever. But so the Yerple Tang is showing purple, showing potential.
Mike says the one at Abyss is looking very drab, apparently.
The one at Mike Bailey, the one at Abyss is very drab these days. Okay. Yeah, all right. Well, I wonder. Because it must have been a year or so. I bet the one at Abyss is that kind of size. But yeah, if that guy ends up purple body, yellow fins, I'll be impressed.
I'm intrigued. Someone's just written, I dislike all aquaculture species, but this one in particular. Now, I understand why. I'm not a massive fan of that one. But why all aquaculture species?
Is that like a moral objection? Reef Keepers Archive, tell us. I don't have a problem with that because this is not like there are some things like with dog breeding, like pugs have been bred to the point where if you've ever heard a pug, they're like because they can't breathe properly because they've gone through so much inbreeding. And I might have got that slightly wrong, but basically that's not natural.
There's a few people that are like that as well.
Exactly. Don't be harsh on yourself. But the Yerple tag, that sort of thing, that's well, world apart. That's just totally different to me. I think it's a cool experiment. At the moment, they do look a bit meh, but I like the idea of it looking really cool.
Would
But
you say they're the biggest disappointment in the industry?
Yeah,
because everyone's like, "Oh,
yeah.
Yerple tang," and now everyone's like,
I don't think it's the biggest disappointment in the industry. There must be more disappointing, but I would never have paid 10 grand for that fish anyway, even if I were in the position to have that. It just doesn't appeal to me. But I, anyway, and he says yes, that is why. So I don't have the objection to it on like a moral grounds. I think that because that's just you're breeding. It's not like you're forcing something unnatural. They could breed in the wild. It's just that they don't because for the most part they live in.
Yeah, but what I understand. So if you're just talking about just yellow tangs, that they are part of the all aquaculture species. We wouldn't have yellow tangs anymore if they weren't breeding them because we can't get them. So, and I get clownfish. Clownfish have gone too far.
For the most part they're fine, but the ones with the raggedy fins, that they piss me off.
They did make better ones. The first raggedy fin ones are terrible. I have seen better versions of those ones, but clownfish, there's a responsibility on the breeder to cull the not good ones, but they don't. And that's many of them don't, because if you know what you're looking at, in a shop, you see them all the time. They have like either bulging eyes or like a bulldog jaw. Now those are fish which should have been culled, but they only become a problem if they're passing their genetics on, and most people aren't breeding them. So is that a problem?
That's a complicated moral issue, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, because if people aren't breeding it,
why should you cull it? Because it doesn't look as pleasing to us.
No, you're meant to cull it because of for the genetics. But if people aren't breeding them, why does it matter?
But we're the ones who, anyway. Well, let's not get into that. But yeah,
we wouldn't want a hard topic today, would we?
No, we would not. And Tozame says, didn't Hawaii open back up for yellow tangs?
There was, I don't
think yellow tangs were on the list. I think they were. Maybe it was.
They opened back up, but I think it was then appealed. So I don't think fish are coming out of Hawaii.
I thought there were like half a dozen, and they were for the most part a bit meh. But I don't remember yellow tangs being on those anyway. But Yerple is showing some promise, but still some promise. And if I'd paid 10 grand, I'd want more than some promise after.
Yeah.
I'd want it to look amazing. Yeah. Next piece of news: CJ's aquarium is back. Now, this is actually old news. It turns out he's been back for 4 months. But YouTube suggested one of his videos for me recently. And I didn't really watch, to be completely honest. I didn't really watch CJ's aquariums before. But I had a look at his channel. He took a bit of a hiatus. He said he made a video. I'm back now, this sort of stuff. And he took a break to spend time with his family and all that sort of stuff and go on holidays. I think it was. He plays football, American football. So I think it was, or he coaches or something. I can't remember, but basically life, which I respect that, taking time for that sort of thing. But he's back, and if you followed him before, or if you didn't follow him, he's worth a watch. I quite liked he's doing a build series with a innovative marine tank, which I don't think you get in the UK, or very few of them anyway.
We used to.
Yeah, okay.
We definitely used to. They used to bring out some really interesting products that people didn't really need.
Really,
that's come out wrong. Like they brought out like a fish food grinder, so you put pellets in it, and then you could press a button on it, and then it would grind the pellets into smaller pieces. Which I'm not sure. I suppose if you have a nano tank,
making it into coral food.
That's what I mean. I'm sure there was some good products, but that was one of the ones I thought it's a bit odd.
That is a bit odd, but okay. But there we go. But anyway, he's back, and he's doing a build with. He's got AI blades. I think that's what YouTube suggested, the AI blade video, and I saw that and I liked it. And he struck me as like a no bullshit YouTuber.
Yeah,
and I like that. So check him out. Low emissions, right? You might have seen this on Reef Builders, Ryan. That there's been an article that has been published, or something, paper has been published that says aquariums that have lower CO2 emissions than pet cats and pet dogs.
I didn't read it, but I did see it.
I read it a little bit. I think there was a bit of fuss because someone picked it up and twisted it and made it negative or something. But so the headline really was that it's that fish are better for the environment than fish tanks are better for the environment than cats and dogs, which was slightly surprising to me because the amount of electricity we get through and the amount of like airfares that are incurred, air miles to get cars over. So that was slightly surprising to me. But it's funny because like I don't ever really think about that. Like it's important to me, like generally in my philosophy. Like I care about the planet and we should be doing things to help it. But I don't ever think, should I be looking at this hobby more sustainably? I think, do you know what? If I need another power head, I need another power head. If I want to run my tank at 25 degrees, not 24, I'll do that.
Yeah.
So which is, I think, is the way you have to be. But it's a funny one because it's kind of, it's like
CJ's aquarium just popped up.
Hey, just tapping in. CJ's, welcome back to YouTube. I really enjoyed I've watched a couple of your videos, really enjoyed them. But there you go, CJ in the house. But yeah, it's a funny one with the whole CO2 thing because it's like, it's so counterintuitive because we all say that we love coral reefs and all that sort of stuff, and yet we keep things that are net negative probably in terms of pollution and that sort of stuff. But anyway, I saw that article and it's the sort of thing that some people might make a fuss out of. It didn't really do anything for me, that article. I was like, okay, so it's better than keeping a pet fish or a pet cat or a pet dog.
What about if you've got a cat too? Does that make you a terrible person?
Yeah, I am a terrible person. And some people have a cat, a dog, and a fish tank. So
that's true. That's true.
A special place in hell reserved for those people. But at the end of the day, caring for animals is just wicked. And if there's a penalty to be paid, I'm prepared to pay that. Sorry.
Yeah, I agree. I think very few people are truly sustainable in everything that they do. And for example, I don't eat meat. For example, I don't eat meat and I don't eat fish. So do I go? Am I doing my bit? No, that's not because I care about the animals or anything. I just don't like the taste. I'm quite fussy with regards to.
You've had a bacon sandwich? It's bloody amazing.
I've never had a bacon sandwich actually. To be fair,
that's the cure for vegetarianism.
Oh, is it? Well,
yeah. I'll make you one next time I'm down.
So do I go? Look, I'm doing my bit now, so I don't have to worry because I've got this fish tank, but I'm doing my bit in a different way. I don't know. There is something I don't know if is there other news that you need to, or is this?
Yeah. But
there is. Because there's at the end of the news, I wanted to mention something, and I don't know what it's about, but someone might know, so I was just intrigued.
All right, we'll rattle through the others because the others are not as big hitters as those. There was a seahorse breeding program in Sydney, at Sydney Harbour, and they released 380 seahorses into Sydney Harbour because the population has plummeted there over the last couple of years because of loss of habitat. And it's these little tiny guys, and seahorses are cool. I know you don't like them, but they're cool. I'd never want to keep one, but they're really cool.
Well, that's what I mean. They're okay to look at, but I don't want them any more than I want jellyfish because jellyfish are a pain in the ass. And so
I'd have one of those over a jellyfish.
Yeah, what I mean is they're both just as much of a pain in the ass as each other.
Fair enough. All right, but anyway, that's the seahorse news. There are two other bits as well. BRS are going on a charity thing, and they've created some merch whereby all the profits are going to go to Florida Aquarium, which is cool. One of the bits of merch is a Mr. Chili plushie, and you were going to get a Pablo plushie, right?
No, people were trying to encourage me to get a Pablo plushie.
Yeah. But there's loads of like t-shirts like Coral Dad and Fresh. No. Sorry, we can't have freshwater stuff on there. A Mr. Chili pint glass. So there you go. So if you're in the States, which most of us are not, most people who watch this live stream, we get a lot more British people watching this live stream than watching most of my videos, weirdly. But anyway, if you're in the States,
it's probably because of the time. Maybe. And I know people will be they'll be up in America now, but it'll be like the middle of the day,
lunchtime. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's more important, eating or watching a Prestige Reef Dork show? That's what you're going to ask yourself. Anyway, so Pablo Mug. Oh, Pablo Mug. Yeah, that's a good point. Mike Bailey would buy a Pablo plushie. So would Reefkeepers Archive.
What?
I might create one, in fact.
A Pablo mug. So apparently, people are going to keep coming back to with new design ideas.
Yeah, exactly. Doing your work for you. And the final bit of news before we come on to your bit was there's 2 new Red Sea tanks. Red Sea announced a load of their Red Sea Max series where they bundle in skimmer and lights, all that recently. So they've been busy, but they've added 2 new tanks. And this is their top of the range line is called the Reefer S series. Yeah. And these are the Reefer S 550 and 700, which I think is 550 litres and 700 litres. And they're 4 and 5 foot long tanks. And they've got all sorts of extra features like I think they've got removable door panels, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I like the dimensions. Where was the dimensions? They were wider. So they're 27 inches wide. So what's that? 3 inches wider than normal, which is good. 7.5, 7 centimeters, something like that. And then 25.6 inches high. Don't like the idea of an extra inch and a bit of height, personally. But I do like the extra front to back width. But so this is 4-foot tank and a 5-foot tank. Guess how much they are?
You've got someone in the chat.
Quick re-listen to. Is that? Nuns.
They need to be removed, basically.
Yeah, I've done that. All right. Okay. So 4-foot tank. Guess how much? They're 4-foot tank and a 5-foot tank. Guess how much they are? And this includes the auto top off, I believe. Might be wrong.
I don't actually. I don't even want to guess, but I imagine that if you buy one, it's going to make your butt feel sore for a while. So is that a good way of describing what I think it would be?
Hang on a second, one more. Yeah, maybe actually. So well, how much do you think? Just go for a guess. That's all right, I'm sorting it, don't worry. I'm sorting it.
And that's fine. They're gonna be thousands. Like thousands and thousands, I reckon.
So the 4-foot one is 3,400 pounds.
Oh, I was close.
And the 5-foot is 4,100.
I was close.
To be fair, they do look they're nice. They're nice tanks.
Yeah, I know.
But they're so expensive. And they've got 19 mil glass. The one thing with that, I think MP40s don't go up to 19 mil.
They do, because the Warthog is 19 mil, and that's right. Like 19 mil is literally the very edge. The limit. You have to, you literally have to have, with the MP40, you can't. So normally you can just stick the wet side and the dry side together, and it will just hold it, and you don't need the little stickers to hold it up. Whereas with these, you have to have the stickers to support the dry side, because the magnet is not strong enough. It will hold it, but when it's on, and after a while, it will fall off. Yeah. So that's why they give the stickers. What is going on in the comments?
I don't know. It's just some random nonsense, but I'm on it. Okay, so that's. But I like the extra width, but yeah, when I've worked out bigger tanks before.
Yeah,
I've and just quick shout out, Les is a real MVP, right? But when I've worked out big tanks before, I've looked at things like the MP40. There comes a point when you have to step up to the MP60s. Yeah, and it's like, oh god, oh for heaven's sake, what's going on? Anyway, all right, so that is the news concluded. Ryan, you had something that you wanted to add?
Oh no, I just wanted to ask if anyone. So. There were people protesting outside Brighton Aquarium, which I thought was odd.
Really?
Yeah, it said close the crawl aquarium, and I did Google it to see if I could find any information. This was literally yesterday. Do you know what I thought was interesting? So they were protesting, and then it started to rain, and then they disappeared.
Oh,
and I was
really?
You do not care enough the fact that you've disappeared when it rained.
Yeah.
But I was considering going over just to find out what it was about. But it was about probably 100 meters from where I was standing, and I didn't care that much. But I think from what I found that it might have something to do with their turtles there, I think the turtles have been there for like 40 years.
Okay.
And I think people are trying to get them released, which again, I'm not even sure that's it's the same with anything. If you have a turtle in captivity for 40 years, I'm not sure how much it's thinking about going back to the wild, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, if you put it back in the wild, it's going to get eaten within 5 seconds.
Look, you don't know. I don't know if that's the case. Just is it likely to happen? I think with some things like killer whales, there's a difference with regards to intellect. I'm not sure how intelligent turtles are, to be fair, but I might be completely wrong, and I know nothing about turtles. So, but I know a lot about copper bands.
Protesters call for this is 9th of April. So this might be our protesters. Oh yeah. Protesters have called for 2 turtles to be freed by writing messages in chalk outside the aquarium. Well, if writing messages if writing a message in chalk doesn't stop this immediately, I don't know what will.
I've just realised that is why they left when it started raining, because the chalk washed away.
Campaigners also wrote messages such as "Lulu the turtle, over 80 years in this prison," and spoke to those heading into the aquarium. It's not that simple. It's not that black and white. Okay. Would a turtle like to be in the wild instead of the public aquarium? Maybe, yeah. But it's about education as much as anything. And people, if you get people interested in marine wildlife, they're more interested in doing things to protect it. And there's a trade-off in that means that you have to have animals that might prefer to be in the wild. But I mean, this is the wrong channel to look for sympathy on that because of what we do. But
that is literally what I thought when I saw it, and I was like, because I was genuinely interested to go over and talk to them because I wanted to know what, like, if it's been there for 80 years, how long do turtles live for? Because I thought they lived to 100.
Yeah.
So
that's the thing. It's like I don't know. It's just I feel that's odd, and like because someone's mentioned in the chat Just Stop Oil, who I get the point of protesting and all that sort of stuff, but I don't like the way Just Stop Oil go about things because they ruin things, and you're not going to get that. It might draw attention, but you never get anyone going, "Oh, great! I'm so glad they've done that." All you do is piss people off.
I wonder if you get I wonder if you get people that go, "Great, I'm glad they've done that," providing they're not the ones being affected.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I've been affected by it. Like when they block up roads in London, I work in London 2 days a week, and it's a bloody nightmare. And it's just because commuting to London is stressful at the best of times anyway.
Yeah.
So it just really pisses you off. And I'm in a job where I help people. So if I don't work, I don't help people. So
there's all sorts of things. They saw people that were going to hospital there was a newborn baby and things like that. And
someone's grandma died, didn't get to say goodbye to them.
People were literally shouting at them, like, properly. And I just think these people have got incredible balls just to be able to stand there and not to, like, that would be a tremendous amount of pressure to have all these people hating you.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? As I said, they do what they want. I barely leave the house, so it doesn't affect me.
No. But we're going into a dangerous territory with that. But,
I know what you mean.
And it's not quite as simple as they're ruining life for people. They're doing the Russian. It's not like anyway. Look, let's just not go into it.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
It's a dangerous topic.
I think they're not potentially going about it the right way. And also, that's exactly what I was thinking about the people protesting outside in the Brighton Aquarium. Did anyone not go in that day?
I was going to say that sounds like, if anything, like, although I'm saying I don't like when people go really far, if you're just writing a few messages in chalk and you're just standing outside.
Oh no, they had a sign this time.
They've
upgraded.
So what? I mean, but I don't know. It's not as simple as that. You can't, like, and someone said you can't just drop it off in the ocean. Exactly. If you put it back, that's not really the point they're making. They're saying that it should never have been there in the first place, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just, I don't feel guilty about keeping fishing corals. 99% of the time. Probably sometimes I do, to be fair, especially if something dies.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
You've done videos on this. I used to like your philosophical videos. You did a video on like whether the ethics of fish keeping and all that sort of stuff.
I'd have to listen to it again to remember what I said.
Yeah.
As I said, we all do things. That's what I remember what I said. So basically, we all do things which are potentially not good for someone else or the environment or an animal. But as long as I do the best I can to provide like the care that fish requires or that species requires, then I can sleep at night. Exactly. If I go, I just didn't care and it died because I couldn't bother to feed it that day. and
Yeah.
I couldn't
I'm
bother
just
to go
going
to
to
the
go on
fish.
holiday. The oil top off run out. Can't be bothered to fill up. But
Yeah,
you know,
if
I'll buy
if
another one.
if that was what then I wouldn't. I would feel very differently. But that's why I try my best, and that was why with the angelfish that like
Yeah.
that hurt me quite a lot. So
How's that going? Is any change? Any
no, there
update?
hasn't been. So I've just set up all the GHL products and things like that on there just to reignite my interest. It's just an empty tank at the moment. Some of the corals are getting like quite pale now because there really is not a lot of nutrients in there. So I'm going to buy some nitrate to dose directly. Not in a like a super bad way where I think they'll die. I'm just like, wow, I've never seen corals this pale. But that's what happens when you have really, really low nutrients. So, but sorry.
Go on.
No, my passion for it is coming back. Basically,
Cool.
It's been about 3 weeks now. I have to wait at least 8 weeks, and each day that goes by, I get a little bit more love for it again. You see all the little baby snails that are all going around there, and
cool, isn't it?
Marina found a hermit crab today. There's one hermit crab in there that she noticed, I think, for the first time today. She's like, "What is this thing with weird legs?" Or I think she said really long legs.
Hobby. I had 2 mates around today who were helping me with the bike.
Yeah,
and they like we just went in. I just like made them a cup of tea when they got here, and they went in and were looking at the tank for like 20 minutes.
Yeah,
because it's just so fascinating and just it's wicked. All right. Anyway, one last thing from Les. He says, "I'm keeping Tropic Thunder from getting eaten by parrotfish. Not all heroes wear capes."
True. I might buy you a cape, Les.
Exactly.
So that people know that you're a hero.
Yeah. But there we go. All right. Well, anyway, so I think that's probably there's nothing else on my list of stuff to talk about. We've gone on for longer than I thought we might, and it's Love Island is about to start, which I'm outing myself as a secret Love Island fan.
Not a secret. I thought you were joking when you told me you watched Love Island.
Bloody love it. Although it's been not so. Anyway, you know what?
It's been not so good. You're like a Love Island connoisseur. You can tell the difference between a good and bad one.
But anyway, and Les says he'll settle for a mug instead of a cape.
Well, you've got to come to the coral farm. I told you, Les. You'll be invited again. Les came once, ages ago. Not been back.
Well, that tell you.
I've now got. Yeah, true. People are now asking for a Tropic Thunder mug.
Tropic Thunder.
I can't imagine it'll be.
Yeah, God, that's put me off tea.
Yeah. Anyway,
Pablo mug.
No Pablo mugs.
All right.
Just these mugs at the moment.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's time for this couple of mugs to say goodbye, I think, isn't it?
It is indeed. So thank you for joining as always, guys. Ryan, thank you for coming along. And we'll catch you all next week.
Yeah. See you later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Cheers.